Hi guys. Okay, so today we're going to be working with the last activity of the week for grammar. We're going to continue with extra practice. So I want you to go to page 140 and 141 to explain you very briefly what you're going to be doing. Now this is very easy. So if you want to see the whole thing, the whole description of each of the topics, if you want to see present tense, you can go to page 104 and 105. And if you want to see past tense, go to page 106 and page 107. There's everything that we already, there's the whole thing that we already saw back in class. And you have the charts of the rules in your notebooks. Now, what is present tense? When do we use it? Well, we use a present tense when we're talking about something that is happening right now. I'm in the present moment and I'm using every single conjugation of my verbs in present. Now, remember that there are some rules and they only apply in this case for third person. Who are the pronouns included in the third person list? We saw this a lot of times in class. So it's he, she, and it. And what happens to the verb in the sentence when we are using he, she, and it as the subject? Do you remember what happens? Well, as it says here, we're going to be adding s or es to most of the verbs for he, she, and it. Now there are some rules depending on the ending of the verb. If it ends in this letter, we're going to just add s. If it ends in that letter, we're going to add es. You have that already in your notebook. Now remember that this is only for he, she, and it, singular. Example, he dances, she walks, it plays. Now when I use the rest of the people, including the pronouns I, you, we, you, and they, some of them are singular and some of them are plural. We're not going to be doing anything to the verb. We're not going to be adding s, we're not going to be adding es, or we're not going to be changing the y for an I and then add es. It stays the same. Example, I play, they walk, you dance. See the difference between that and when I'm using he, she, or it? That it's because we only add es, s, or change y to an I and add es when we're talking about third person. So I'm going to tell you what you're going to be doing in the first part, just as like an example again. Example, Bill collects postage stamps. Now first, look for the subject. Bill. Bill is our subject. So if you don't know if that's a third person or a second person or a first person, remember that we substitute the name Bill for the pronoun. What pronoun am I going to be using when I talk about Bill? Am I going to be using she? Am I going to be using I? Am I going to be using they? No. When we talk about Bill, we know that we're talking about a subject that it's a male. So we use the pronoun he, right? So that's why in this case we have Bill collects postage stamps. We are adding an s to the verb collect. If I was the subject in this sentence, it would be I collect postage stamps, right? I cannot say I collects or Bill collect. So please be careful on that. I'm going to tell you number one and then you're on your own, okay? Number one, I like stamps too. Now what is our verb? You have to underline it. Well, in this case is like. I like. So I'm going to underline like. Is it correct? Is it used correctly? Yes, because I am the subject, I'm using that subject, and the verb doesn't have an S, right? So that's what you're going to be doing. Now, in the triangle, read the instructions carefully, and then on the square as well. And then we're going to go to page 141, and I'm going to explain very briefly what you're going to be doing. So now remember, past tense are things or actions that we already done in the past. Maybe a minute ago, maybe an hour, maybe a day, a week, a year. It's already done, so it's past. Now this, remember that you already have the rules for this as well. Now here, it doesn't matter if you're talking about present, it doesn't matter if you're talking about first person, second person, third person, plural, or singular. It doesn't matter. Every single person as the subject in the verb, we're only going to add D, ED, or change the Y to an I and then add ED, or double the last consonant and then add ED, right? You have to see your rules. So, you have to, in the first one, the first part, you have to write the past tense verb in the sentences below. So you're only going to underline as well as the previous activity. And then this in the triangle. Write the past tense form of each verb in parentheses. So when the words in parentheses are in present or infinitive, and you have to convert them in past. Now, remember that only regular verbs have ed in past tense. No, regular verbs have ed. Irregulars are way too different or maybe the same because they don't follow any rules, okay? So regular verbs, we add these rules. We add the ending of D or the or ed. But irregulars, they follow no rules, and they could be the same in present and past or a totally different word because they don't follow rules. So go ahead, send me this, and I will see you for the video in Wonders, okay? Good luck.